Hello and welcome to episode 50 of Pat Bear's Anime Club. I'm so happy you could be watching this. I'm so excited that I got to do 50 of these. If you've never seen the show, it is an excuse for me to talk about anime, a subject that I very much like to talk about. Sometimes I'll talk about a particular theme or topic. Maybe I'll talk about a show. I'll do a deep dive into a thing. Sometimes it's an explainer, like, hey, what's up with that? Wow, sound effect that's in anime. What's going on with that? Or sometimes it's me reviewing shows or previewing shows. In this particular case, for episode 50, I noticed that there are 11 isekai out this season. And I was like, that's a lot of isekai, and I know a lot about it. So let's talk about all 11. And why not, because it's the 50th, do something a little special and rank all of them using Tiermaker, who are not a sponsor by anyway, but I do want to say that. So we're going to rank these S through D, go through all 11. Now, let me just explain Isekai, just in case you need it. There's in the show description below, I will, of course, have a link to this Tiermaker list, so you can do it yourself. But I also will include a link to a video I did about Isekai, because we're going to talk about the different world genre, where your main character goes to a different world through death, through summoning, through some sort of calamitous event, through magic, through unknown means, which we'll get into a bit. And it can be, the different world can be Earth. It can be a character from another world, which we'll talk about there, going to Earth. It isn't, I should say, in my opinion, an isekai is not a show where a bunch of characters from another world come to Earth to interact with a Earth character who is the main character. So we're not going to talk about Miss Kobayashi's Dragon Maid S, which is the second season of that show, because I don't consider that to be an isekai. I do consider a nether realm, or a realm that people in Earth think is hell but is another dimension. I do consider that, so we will look at two of those shows that involve that. And yeah, to me anyway, like Devil's a Part-Timer, that's an isekai. Even though it takes place on Earth, it's the devil coming here, working. He's the main character. It's an isekai. So another show we're going to talk about there also counts, in my opinion. And I'll talk about, as we go, some terms like traditional, which is the female-focused, based on Alice in Wonderland, or inspired by Alice in Wonderland, the kind of shows that have Escaflowne, Inuyasha, Fushigi Yugi, female lead going to a different world, Magic Knight Rayearth. Then you have your modern, popularized by Sword Art Online, and also Jobless Reincarnation, the novel turned manga turned recently anime that was really fundamental for a lot of light novels that would take inspiration from it, codified a lot of what people talk about there. Main character being very overpowered and male and having a lot of women around them. And that is the kind of what the modern isekai is. When people think about isekai, that's what they think of. And then the postmodern. I turned into a slime. I'm a spider. It's a comedy. Those kind of things are, or it is a very chill, very fun slice of life. Those are kind of the postmodern of just like, well, now we know what those tropes are, we can play with those tropes. And our first show that we'll talk about here plays with those tropes. It's called Drugstore in Another World, The Slow Life of a Cheat Pharmacist. I wanted to make sure I got the whole name, and it's cute. It's just really cute. I'm going to put it in B tier because it's nothing offensive, but it also isn't like particularly fantastic. Our main character runs a pharmacy in a magic realm, and makes potions that taste good, which is weird for the time. They're very unusual. We don't know how he got isekai. It's stated that he got isekai. He's here, but not how he got there. Not the means. He's got an assistant who is a ghost, and he's got a little wolf girl that helps him out, and he solves people's problems, and it's very light and very chill and cute and fun. Now, a show that is also a little different, because our main character is certainly not overpowered, is How a Realist Hero Rebuilt the Kingdom, which to me, right now, I'm going to go ahead and put in S tier. At the time of this recording, most of these shows had a few episodes, and a couple of these shows are on their second season, so they certainly had more So you get a sense of the characters. But some of the shows are pretty new. The last two I talked about only had a few episodes, but I'm really loving how a realist rebuilt the kingdom is taking kind of a practical approach. This is a guy who was in college looking to be a civil servant who is now thrust in position of being the king, and he's taking a practical approach to solving problems and helping people. Are there also a plethora of lovely ladies around as well? Of course, it is in some ways a traditional, or sorry, a modern isekai in many ways. But yeah, there's the moments of like kind of like slice of life. There are moments of there will be action. There's been some action there. I'm expecting there to be more, but we're not going to see him with a sword on the battlefield solving problems through his overpowered magic. He's solving problems by finding incredible people to work for him and using his common sense in this world. And I'm really enjoying it. I'm really liking all the characters. Also, there's a character that immediately starts out tsundere, but she instantly is just like, oh, now I understand what's going on. Oh, okay, yeah, I like you. And so it's very brief, and I was so psyched about that. Um, a show transition that I'm not psyched about is I'm Standing on a Million Lives Season 2, which I'm going to go ahead and put in D. Look, I don't know how this show got a second season. It got announced during the first season it was getting a second season. Um, there is some sort of realm that they're not sure if it's a video game realm, but it does have some things. They travel back and forth with them. There's someone who traveled from the future is testing them and making them solve these quests with the idea that eventually they'll be strong enough to save the world that this character comes from, where they failed. It really, like, I don't know, but it really feels like this whole show exists to try to make the main character into a better person. Like all these trials are trying to improve this sociopath who's the main character. And look, I can respect the idea that your main character is very unlikable, but I don't want to watch it. You know, like it was kind of funny that he has these epiphany moments, that he soundly rejects. He's like, "Wait, is this, is this the, is this? No, 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 no. Never mind." And so I can respect that, but it doesn't mean that I'm like, hell yeah, I can't wait to watch this show. I don't think it's good, and I do think the the peeling back the curtain and when the explanation happens, I do think it will be terrible. Um, and I'm not interested in season two at all. Um, so I've been watching it, so I'm going to put it in D because I watched season one, didn't like it, so that show goes in D. Now, a show that I'm conflicted about is My Next Life as a Villainess All Routes Lead to Doom X, which is the second season of My Next Life. I love the premise of the first season. I enjoyed the first season very much. I'm not loving this second season, uh, but I am going to put it in A because the first season is so strong that I do have high hopes for this picking up the pace because it is early. And, sometimes when you have a show that maybe didn't need a second season because the manga didn't need to keep going, the premise is Katarina wakes up at age 8, she gets hit in the head and suddenly remembers, oh, I was reincarnated. I come from Japan, and I am right now in a world based on the dating game, the Otome game, that I played. And I'm the villain in the piece. My best possible outcome in this game that I have played is that I get banished. So, how do I fix things? And the thing is, she's like, well, I'm starting out as an 8-year-old, but then, I'm going to be a teen when I go to school. That's when the game really picks up. So I can change things. The real thing about Katarina is that she is not smart. She's a great person. She's wonderful. She changes all the characters around her by just being a thoughtful, wonderful, weird person that they instantly fall in love with her and appreciate her and feel a connection to her. And she still, most of the first season, thinks of them as those characters that they played in the game and doesn't realize how much she's affected them. In the second season, she's just kind of ditzy still, and more stories are happening, and I like some of the new characters that have been introduced, but not all of them. But I have high hopes for this. And because the first season's so strong, I am going to give it an A, even though I am a little worried about where it's going. But I do like that she got kidnapped and it was almost an inverse Stockholm Syndrome, which, yes, I know that is bullshit. Stockholm Syndrome is actually bullshit, but I do like that the person that kidnapped her is just like, ah, you beat me. I can't scare you. I can't, this isn't going to work, is it? And it's just like, I like, just because she was just like interested in what he's up to, and knowing about him. I appreciate that. There are many things I've read about the show. I'm looking forward to seeing where it goes. Also, the first couple episodes were just kind of like silly little one-off episodes that I thought was pretty great. Um, so yeah, I have high hopes for it. I do really enjoy it, so I'm going to give it an A ranking on the promise of what the first season delivered. So another show that has some promise, but I'm going to give it a B because I'm a little worried about where it's going. Is I'm going to say, I'm just going to rank it right now and then I'll explain it. Sierra Gensoki, which is Spirit Chronicles. Spirit Chronicles. We'll just call it there because I'm bad at pronouncing Japanese. Spirit Chronicles is an interesting take on a modern isekai in that our main character, similar to Katarina, suddenly realizes, oh, I'm reincarnated. I have a past. Events happened to me in Japan. But where most characters are like, great, the years of my life as in this character Rio. Rio is just like, but I'm still me. It's not an erasure. It's not a takeover. It's not, there are many characters that, it doesn't matter what happened those years. Now, this is the most important thing. It's like, oh, I'm actually this Japanese person. In this case, Rio is like, I have memories of someone who lived in Japan, but I'm still me. And there are meshed together, and there's some changes. Uh, but for the most part, is looking at what happens when you suddenly have the memories of somebody, and like, martial arts because he studied martial arts, and about math better than you should at your age because of that. Because of the being having a college kid's memories. Um, it's interesting. But also, it just seems to be. I don't know if the manga is slower or if this is the pacing that works, but I was like, okay, so this is a kid in school. No, no, he's out of school. Okay, so it's a kid on the run, and there's going to be some political machinations, and they introduced another character, and there are going to be other characters that I also are probably reincarnated. What's this show trying to do? And I'm not sure. So that's why it's going in B, because I really like the ideas of it, but I don't know where it's going. So I'm not sure. And also at the end, I'm going to rank these and move these around. Another show that I'm going to get a little heat from, probably from some people, is I'm going to put Sunny Boy in C. And, there are a few here. You're already typing the comments, and I understand, and I get that. And you do you. Sunny Boy is an original piece. It is a school classroom. Suddenly it gets the whole classroom, and the students get moved to another dimension, and there are weird rules, and it's not quite Battle Royale yet, but it could be, and characters are trying to figure things out, and the art is visually really interesting. It's just not a thing that I care about, so I can't put it in D, because I don't think it's bad. I just have no interest in it, and that's why it's ranked in C, because these are my opinions. I fully expect this to get awards, the Crunchyroll Anime Awards. I fully expect people to be like, this is my favorite show of the year, or this is my favorite show of the season, and I'll just go, yeah, okay, I'm glad you like it. But I watched 2 episodes, and I was just like, I don't want to keep watching this. I don't really care about any of these characters. Maybe I will at some point. Maybe I need to give more time to care, but it's just not the kind of show I'm interested in. And I also notice people argue that it's not an isekai, but it definitely feels like one to me. Okay, so now we've got, this is a long one here, that time I got reincarnated as a slime, season 2, part 2. So it's the second half of the second season. Oh, that time I got reincarnated as a slime. So if I was judging this on the first half of season 2, then this would be interesting, a different thing. Because I did not like necessarily some of the first half of season 2 because it went from a postmodern isekai to just a modern isekai. Uh, because it really like it's a show about a person that gets reincarnated as a slime and then makes monster friends and then tries to have a good nation for them to hang out. And there's some drama and some stuff that happens to happen in it that is dark. But season 2 is just like, yeah, but what if like Rimuru killed like a lot of people and like he was put in a position where he had to, but like, hey, what if a character that we care about just like died? And it's like, oh, okay, okay. And now the second half of this season is it's a lot of planning, it's a lot of talking. It's kind of in my mind slowing down. They're introducing some fun characters or reintroducing some fun characters and not letting them interact with other characters. And like, I'm liking it. I'm gonna put it in A. Um, Look, there's a shadow hovering over it. Also, so far we have not seen these authoritative uniforms that you can see in that photo, and there were like all of the photos out there were like, oh, it's now like a military uniforms, and you're like, I don't want to watch that. But I am interested in seeing where it goes, and even though I know there's a fight coming, I actually don't know if we're going to get that fight in the season. Uh, and this is nothing to do on the bearing of the show, but they're probably going to start delving into light novel stuff, which happens with anime as they catch up to the manga. They start dealing, if there's source material, they'll start going to that source material. Like there's already a couple things that I'm like, this is either anime only or from the light novel because I've read the manga and it's not in the manga. So that's interesting. But I am liking some of the sillier stuff that gets introduced. And also, like, how can I low rank a show that has a uh, Veldora who uniform in some parts is just not wearing a shirt but wearing gloves and a cape and just being very extra because he read a lot of manga and liked the manga. I'm real into that. I'm just real into that. Um, a show that I'm not into, hey, here we go, is the Dungeon of Black Company. This is another show where I don't like the main character, and I don't think I'm ever supposed to, or I ever will. Like maybe just like a lazy guy who's never had to really work hard or do anything, suddenly becomes like works in a mine in a fantasy world in a black company, and he's gonna fix his life there and work with other people, and it's kind of a comedic take on that genre. We've seen this before in Isekai kind of lately of like, well, what if the main character just like is not psyched to be there and it's not going well? And I think that not parody, but comedy Isekai is very hard. I think straightforward Isekai, I think I prefer better of like, hey, we're doing this show. Yeah, I think I like that way better than, well, like we're gonna have fun with this one because I just don't think they're actually having fun with it. I'd rather it be weird than funny, is what I'm trying to say. And I am a comedian, but yeah, I got high standards. I didn't really like this show. A show that at the time of this recording and release, there's only one episode of. And I'm going to try to say this name right because I watched the first episode and I liked it. It's called The Great Jahi Will Not Be Defeated. The Great Jahi Will Not Be Defeated. And it is similar to Devil's Part-Timer, a high-ranking demon. In this case, she is like the second command of the demon army. Through the power of a magic girl destroying a big source of power for the Dark Realm, Jai gets dumped into Earth, and it doesn't have magic, and actually it's like almost like a chibi version of herself, and is, oh boy, just not in a good way. And much like Devil's a Part-Timer, you have a character who is a fish out of water in an unfamiliar place, trying to survive. And it is comical and silly and fun, and she is, I feel bad for her, even though she's, supposed to be this overpowered character, because she's not. You feel sorry for her, and then also kind of laugh at her misfortune. It's one of those shows. Um, and I'm excited to see what happens with it. I am judging this based on one episode right now, but I'm going to give it a B. This could easily be an A or it could be a D, but I'm going off that one episode and just saying, I don't know, I liked what I saw. I'm looking forward to seeing more. Um, Unfortunately, it's like a Friday, Saturday show, which I have a lot that I watch those days. So, or it comes on Saturday. So I don't know when I'm going to watch it because I got a lot to watch on these days. But I am excited to watch more of it. I think it's good. Like the first episode. So that's best. That's what we're ranking this on. A show that I started pretty hot on and have kind of lost some interest in is Tsukimichi Moonlit Fantasy. And I actually don't know where to rank this, so I'm going to like kind of think of it as I talk to you about it. So, okay, it is somebody who, in modern isekai terms, overpowered, also aware. This was the thing I forgot to say. Modern isekai, this originally started with postmodern isekai, where characters know about different worlds and what isekai is. Now that's just seeped into modern isekai, like the expectations of it. Like, uh, our character is just like, oh, I'm going to a different world, I'm going to go on adventures. And then expectation meets reality, which is the goddess of that world is like, you're ugly, get out of here. Sends him to the edge of the world. He's surrounded by overpowered demons who like him, and he's going to run into some issues with humanity. I don't love the support characters. I think I like the premise. I don't necessarily love the execution. So I think I'm actually going to put this in C. Also, one of the major support characters has that I like to be hurt personality that I just don't enjoy as a character trait. So I'm not super thrilled with that. But I do. This could move up. At the time of this recording, it could easily be a B show. But I think I like the premise more than I like what it's given me. Um, yeah, and I think we're gonna leave it at that for that show. We got one more to talk about. And this is Welcome to Demon School Irma-kun Season 2. This is a double length, so we're towards the second half. And I love the premise, and I love almost everything about Welcome to Demon School Irma-kun. It feels like an odd adaptation because it feels like the first season maybe shouldn't have been double length, and the second season maybe shouldn't have been double length because I think it's just a slow show that doesn't, I think it's artificially a slow show. Irma is a good boy, 14-year-old good boy, rough life, real rough life. And things actually improve for him kind of when a demon buys him to have him be his grandson because he's jealous of his friends who have grandkids. Uh, and Irma's like, what? But then also like makes friends, goes to school for the first time. In season 2, goes to an amusement park and kind of grows as a person. He's just like a good boy that can't really say no to people, but he's got friends that are supporting him, and his heart wins out, and him trying to keep it a secret that he's a human, and then also like work with other people and change them and support them and encourage them to do better. There's a wonderful supporting cast that are very fun, and they're getting their moments to shine. The season 2 characters are, there's a character I dislike very much, Ronov, but I'm supposed to dislike him, so that's good. They do a good job with that. It's not go home heat, it's heat. And I just don't like him, to use some wrestling parlance. Like, he's annoying and I shouldn't like him, and there he is. And somebody loves him out there, I'm sure. But yeah, the second season introduction characters that are good. I think it's a little slow. I think once it gets through its first arc into the second arc's really great, and we're in the third arc right now. I think it'll just be 3, which is really strong and interesting, and adds some more dimension to Irma and does what it's supposed to do, which is put the characters in new situations and give them chances to grow or be funny or silly. And Clara is she's the best girl. She's just wonderful and great, and she's had her chance to shine, and I'm expecting more. So yeah, I'm gonna put this at S, even though I didn't like parts of the first half of season 2. I love it, and you can see Clara right there, and she's the best. She's the best girl. So that's our ranking. I'm gonna look at this one more time, see if I want to make any changes. I'm gonna cough. Also, sorry. I'm gonna cough. I'm I don't think I'm going to edit that out. You know what? We're at the end of this video. Here's a 20-something minute video. I'm not even going to edit that out. So we've got how a realist hero rebuilt the kingdom, and Welcome to Demon School Irmakun Season 2 in in My Next Life as a Villainous, All Routes Lead to Doom X, aka Season 2, and That Time I Got Reincarnated into Slime, Season 2, Part 2 in A. We've got Drugstore in Another World, Spirit Chronicles, and The Great Jai Will Not Be Defeated in B. We've got Sunny Boy and Tsukimichi Moonlit Fantasy in C. And we've got in D, what is the name of that show? Oh, yes, I'm Standing on a Million Lives Season 2 and The Dungeon of Black Company. Um, and that's going to do it for this episode. Let me know below if you're watching any of these shows. Are you watching any Isekai at all? Let me know if you change your mind, if you're going to give any of this a shot, please. If you have any ideas for future videos I can do, leave them in the comments. I always like seeing them, and some of them have been made videos. I do promise the person that has recommended, I think on 2 occasions, or requested on 2 occasions, that I do a deep dive on either idols or a particular idol show. I will do that. You will get that. And thank you all so much for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. And I'll see you on the next Pat Bear's Anime Club. Goodbye.